And in Florida, we're deciding the fate of 6 amendments to the Constitution and issues like abortion and recreational marijuana.
Our reporters are covering the state of the presidential race, local issues to watch, and what to expect once the polls close. We're committed to covering this election until the final votes are counted, the winners are declared, and whatever the next few days may bring.
We begin with our co-anchor, Todd McDermott, with what the candidates did today. Todd?
Tiffany, Felicia, we're talking about the presidential candidates. Vice President Kamala Harris hosting her election night watch party at her alma mater, Howard University in Washington, D.C. tonight. The vice president voted by mail, casting her ballot days ago. Her team says they feel cautiously optimistic in this moment, and they believe they have a viable path to victory in all 7 of those battleground states. They point to a very strong ground game, getting out the vote, saying it's one of the strongest in American history. Vice President Harris has a tradition of having dinner with her family on election night and plans to do that tonight, and she says she will head to the Howard campus. Former President Donald Trump supporters will be at the Palm Beach County Convention Center in West Palm Beach tonight, hoping for a celebration. After casting his ballot on Palm Beach with the former First Lady Melania Trump late this morning, Trump said he feels very confident and thinks they have a victory coming tonight. But when asked if he'll concede, he said, if it's a fair election and he loses, he will concede. The former president will be at Mar-a-Lago hosting dinners tonight. It's unclear if or when we'll hear from him, telling reporters he doesn't have a speech prepared for tonight, but he can make one up quickly. Both campaigns spent the final days of this race, of course, in Pennsylvania. The Commonwealth could decide this entire race. Today, a judge extended the voting period today by 2 hours in Cambria County in southwestern Pennsylvania after some technical issues at the polls. Lines have been long at some of those polling locations. State election officials in the battleground say for the most part, though, today has gone smoothly as we approach the final hours, voters letting their voices be heard. Those results could still start coming in tonight after polls close in Pennsylvania. Could take some time, though, to count them all. There is some news out of Georgia, though, that key battleground state. The Secretary of State there says he is confident they will have results tonight. Tiffany?
Todd, thank you. Right now, both presidential campaigns are awaiting the nation's decision. Donald Trump is set to host an election watch party at the convention center, as Todd just mentioned, and that's where our Terry Parker is tonight. Terry.
Right now, we are inside the Palm Beach County Convention Center, where in just a few hours, the official Donald Trump watch party will begin. Right now, only campaign staff, the Secret Service, and the media are here. And I have to say, it's an enormous amount of media. We're all on risers in this giant convention room. It's the largest gathering of media that I've ever seen at any political event. Not only are they inside here, but they're circled all around the convention center. Also here are many Trump supporters. They began lining up outside in the parking garage wearing their red, white, and blue, their MAGA gear, and they say that they are here because they are mostly volunteers. Invited guests will arrive later, and right now, Donald Trump himself is not here. He is at Mar-a-Lago, just a few miles away across the Intracoastal in Palm Beach. He is dining with several tight people with him, his vice presidential running mate, J.D. Vance, his wife, Melania, many of his family, of course, whom do live right here in Palm Beach County. So Trump should come over here to the convention center to join the people watching the results around 10 or 10:30. We're going to have speakers right now up on big screens. We see the words, "Dream big again." And Trump today saying that this is the very best campaign he has ever run. He was also asked, will this be your last campaign? Will you run again, win or lose? Trump saying this will probably be my last. Right now, the momentum is building. There's a lot of anticipation. People have told me this is the biggest election they think that they've ever been through or may ever been through, and we will keep you informed of all the developments right here from the official Trump watch party. Terry Parker, WPBF, 25 minutes.
Terry, thank you. In the House of Representatives, Republicans hold the majority, but that could also change tonight. Crucial races in Virginia, New York, Nebraska, New Mexico, and Alaska will be the deciding factors here. Tonight, we have coverage of 2 big House races. Ari Height looks at the race between incumbent Democrat Lois Frankel and her Republican challenger Dan Franzese.
We begin with Shane Wright with the race between Republican Brian Mast, who is being challenged by Democrat Thomas Whitcomb.
That's right. Brian Mast, a Republican, going for his 5th term in the 21st Congressional District. He's had the support of voters in this area for 8 years now, and he'll look to continue that tonight in this race. races. Watch party starting here in Stewart at around 6 o'clock. His opponent on the other side, Thomas Whitcomb, on the Democratic side, new to politics at 25 years old, is the youngest congressional candidate in the country, but he has said he is ready to make a change in this district. He'll have an uphill battle as Mast convincingly defeated Rick Wiles in the Republican primary, earning 85% of the vote. In 2022, Mast won the Republican primary with 78% of the vote, then beat Karina Robinson with 63.5% in the general election. He continues to run on his stance on immigration, protecting borders and protecting Florida's waterways. On the other side, Whitcomb's key issues, the home insurance crisis and also reproductive rights for women. So we'll see how this race goes tonight. Let's send it over to Ari Height in West Palm Beach for the race for the 22nd Congressional District. Ari?
And Shane, voters here in the 22nd Congressional District probably recognize the names of the candidates because the same two candidates ran for this same office just 2 years ago. So let's talk about who those candidates are. First is the incumbent. That is the Democrat, Lois Frankel. She is seeking her 7th term here. Her opponent, Republican Dan Francis, a successful businessman in the world of money management. The two candidates agree on protecting Social Security. They agree on Medicare. They agree on their support of Israel. Frankel, though, also supports protecting abortion and voting rights and combating climate change. Francis says he wants to protect the border, lower gas prices, and tackle inflation. Again, this is a rematch from just 2 years ago. That's when Frankel won the race by 10 points. Reporting live in West Palm Beach, Ari Height, WPBF 25 News.
This year's electoral map is different than the one used in the last 3 presidential races.
That's because congressional districts change every 10 years based on population numbers. 5 states, including Florida, gained an electoral college vote since 2020. Texas is the only state that gained 2 votes. The 7 states you see here in red lost an electoral vote. The battleground states with changes are highlighted in blue. Whoever wins Pennsylvania gets all 19 of its electoral votes, the most of any swing state. Pennsylvania's electorates voted for Joe Biden in 2020.
Voting will soon be ending at polling locations across our area, and we are now getting a sense of how things went at the polls today. Our Steve King is live at the Tabulation Center in West Palm Beach with what elections officials are working on right now. Steve?
Well, right now the elections officials have moved to a different part of the tabulation center, but these are some of the machines they're using in order to count the vote by mail ballots, the more than 234,000 vote by mail ballots that have been submitted here in Palm Beach County. The canvassing board, they have just started their process a couple minutes ago. It's made up of county officials. They make sure they review all possible vote discrepancies in order to eventually certify the results. And as far as early voting tabulation, those results will not be released until after 7 p.m. And for the 377 voting locations in Palm Beach County where people voted today, those results will start coming in location by location at different times. That's because each voting location begins its tabulation process once the last person in line votes. People can vote as long as they get in line at that location by 7 p.m. So for some locations, those results might not come in until after 8 p.m. at some times. Elections officials tell me the initial unofficial results will not come in until about 7:30 p.m. here in Palm Beach County at the latest, but for the statewide results, that won't be until sometime after 8 p.m. That's because the Division of Elections does not release statewide results until the counties in the central time zone of Florida begin closing their polling locations. Reporting live in West Palm Beach, Steve King, WPBF 25 News.
Now to one of the major races being decided locally, the St. Lucie County Sheriff's race. Our Rachel Perry joining us live with the latest on that race and the other local sheriff's races on the ballot today. Rachel?
Yeah, the watch party for Republican candidate Richard Del Toro is expected to kick off soon. Now just about 8 miles away, his opponent is also hosting one. Democrat Steve Giordano is facing off against Del Toro, both hoping to replace Sheriff Keith Pearson, and each with extensive law enforcement experience. Del Toro boasts 26 years, including serving as the chief of police for Port St. Lucie. Giordano, a now businessman, previously served as a corrections deputy. Our cameras are also in Palm Beach County, where Democrat and current Sheriff Rick Bradshaw is up against Republican Michael Gauger. Over in Indian River County, Republican and current Sheriff Eric Flowers is facing write-in candidate Deborah Cooney. Del Toro is expected to be here sometime around 6:30. Giordano's party kicks off shortly after. Stick with us for the latest, but for now, live in St. Lucie County, Rachel Perry, WPBF 25 News.
All right, Rachel, thank you. And we are bringing you election night coverage all evening long. Starting at 6:30, ABC will bring you live coverage of the presidential race, and we will be providing live updates on the local and state races, as well as the amendments throughout the night.